Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekend Word. This is just a couple moments we spend together each weekend, hopefully meant to encourage you as we walk through this season together. Now, how many people on the other side are sports fans? I know in my house, Corey is a diehard sports fan. He's struggling without there being lots of sports on TV right now. But this week was the NFL draft. And that was like a historic day in our house because it's the most exciting thing that has happened in the sports world since quarantine has began. So he woke us all up. He made us all wear our Dolphins clothes. He made us get wings for dinner. It was an event in our house. And I couldn't help but think in the back of my mind, like, oh no, here we go again. It's going to be football season, and that means I've got to watch him spend his Sundays watching the Dolphins, only to end up extremely disappointed that they lost again, and then leading to him being depressed the rest of the evening because they lost, which isn't a shock to many of us, but every Sunday he's upset that they lost again. And as I sat down to prepare for this weekend word, I couldn't help but think that I'm sure there's many of us right now in this specific season of our lives that feels the same way, that we feel like we just can't win, that no matter what we're doing in our life, at every turn we take, that we just feel like we're not winning in what we're trying to accomplish. We feel like we are fighting a battle, not a physical battle against other people, but maybe a spiritual battle, or a mental battle, or an emotional battle. Many times battles are fought against our own thoughts and our own habits and our own actions against ourselves. Maybe somebody in your family lost a job or is sick, but we just feel like we are in a battle right now. And God just kind of revealed to me this verse that is found in Deuteronomy 20, verse 4, and it says this: "For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies and give you victory." And as I read that, I couldn't help but thinking of this phrase, "can't lose." And that just helps me remember that we in life, we don't play for the Dolphins. We don't lose every Sunday. We are on God's team, and we can't lose when we are fighting our battles with Him on our side. We will always be victorious on the other side of whatever battle you're walking through in this season of life. It might be in God's time and in His way, and maybe not the way you thought it would look like, maybe something better, but God will always be victorious. We can't lose when we fight our battles with Him. So I just wanted to give us 3 quick ways today of how we can remember that when we fight our battles with God, that we can't lose, because sometimes we need to be reminded of that. Too much of the world gets filled in our head in our circumstances, and we have to be reminded that we can't lose with Him. And so 3 quick ways. The first way is this: to fill ourselves with God's Word. And I say that because some of the greatest players who've ever played sports are good at what they do because they know the playbook from start to finish. So therefore they know how to be successful at winning. And I think the same thing is true in our spiritual lives. When we want to be successful in winning, we've got to know what God's Word says. We have to know how to put on His Word as armor in our lives, to know how to fight the different battles that we walk through in life. So I encourage you in this season, make sure you're spending your time alone with the Lord. You know, Instagram is good to get a word, or videos like this are good to get a word, but nothing replaces our private one-on-one time with the Lord. So I encourage you in this season, make sure you're doing that so that you can know His playbook and know what He says about winning the battles with Him. And the second thing is this: remember. I think teams, when you go into team locker rooms, they have trophies everywhere, and that's intentional because they want you to remember the times before when they were victorious. And I think a great way to build confidence in knowing that we'll win the battle is by remembering. I know for many of us, this is not the first hard season that we've walked through in life. And sometimes it's important for us to sit down and remember the times that God has gotten us through the other side before. And so maybe it's a habit of journaling. I know some people love to journal their thoughts and write down the times that God was victorious. Go back to some of those journals, read those times, because those things give us confidence and courage to remind ourselves that we can't lose. And the last thing is this: stand in His promises. God's promises say that He loves you, He cares for you, that He is in control, that He's for you, not against you, that no matter what our mind tells us, and I know right now in this season, sometimes it's easy for our mind to tell us things. You won't get another job, you'll never be good enough, you'll never be smart enough. Our mind tells us what we are to feel many a times. But when we fill our hearts and our minds with God's promises, it helps us remember that those things aren't true. God says you can and you will be victorious with Him on the other side. So those are 3 quick things that we can do in this season to remind us that you can't lose, because you are fighting for God on God's team, and He is fighting for you through whatever battle you're facing in your life right now. God will be victorious. Thank you for watching this, and hopefully you were encouraged a little bit today.